GitHub and Bitbucket we are using as version control software. Okay, and we discussed about Tomcat server, Tomcat, which we are using as web server, which is used to run our web applications. Then after this, we discussed about Sonar Cube. We are using this for code review of our application. And we discussed about Nexus server, which we are using to store project artifacts. Okay. Then we discussed about Docker, which is used for containerization of our application. Then we discussed about Kubernetes, which we are using for orchestration purpose. As part of the Kubernetes, we discussed about Prometheus and Grafana. These Prometheus and Grafana softwares are used to monitor our application resources. That means whatever the cluster that we have created, to monitor the resources of the cluster, we are using this Prometheus and Grafana. And the next one, we discussed about EFK stack, which is used to monitor the logs of our application. Okay. Then we discussed about Terraform software, which is used to provision infrastructure in the cloud. So whatever the resources we need, virtual machines, a database, say buckets, security, IAM users, anything that you want to create in the cloud platform, instead of doing that manually, we can provision the infrastructure by using a software called Terraform. Then we discussed about a tool called Ansible. This Ansible we are using for configuration management. Okay. Once we create the infrastructure, the machines will be created by using Terraform. So in order to manage the configurations in those machines, we used a tool called Ansible. So here, after this, when we discussed about one tool called Jenkins, that Jenkins we are using for CI/CD process. So in order to automate the project build and deployment process, we used a tool called Jenkins. So we used Maven, we used GitHub, Tomcat, SonarCube, Nexus, Docker, Kubernetes, Prometheus, Grafana, EFK Stack, Jenkins, Terraform, Ansible. So these are the tools that we used as of now in our DevOps course. Okay, and the remaining thing, there are two tools available. One is called GitHub and another one is called Privy. So GitHub tool we need to learn, sorry, not GitHub, Jira. So we have a tool called Jira. Jira tool we have to learn. And the next one is Privy tool is available, which is used for security scans. So whenever application is available to check any security scans available in our application, for that we are going to use Privy tool. Okay, so that is very small tool. And Jira is used for project management purpose. Okay, so today let me complete what is Jira tool and how to work with that Jira tool. Okay, fine. So first of all, Jira tool is used for project management. It is used for project management. So what is the meaning of project management, guys? So creating the stories, creating and assigning stories will be taken care by using this Jira tool. So in a project, multiple team members will be available. So which team member should work on which story, that we are going to decide by using this Jira only, right? So currently in the market, we are using Agile methodology. Okay, currently in the market, we are using Agile methodology. So as part of this Agile methodology, we are going to do the planning, designing, development, testing, delivery as a continuous process. Instead of delivering the project in one shot, we are going to deliver the project in multiple releases. So that is called Agile methodology here. So it is used for project management, creating and assigning stories in the project. Okay, we will do with the help of Jira tool only. So currently in the market, people are following Agile methodology. So what is this Agile methodology and how we are going to work with this Agile methodology in the project? So as part of the project Agile methodology, Agile nothing but Agile methodology is one of the most famous SDLC methodology in the market. So in every company, people are going to develop the projects by using some SDLC methodology, software development lifecycle methodology. In that SDLC, Agile is one of the most famous methodology in the market. So what will happen in the Agile methodology? In the Agile methodology, planning, designing, development, testing, delivery is a continuous process. Suppose if we have a project, if you have a project with multiple requirements, instead of developing all the requirements in one shot, we are going to take the project into multiple releases. Okay, we are going to develop the project into multiple releases. So that is a continuous process. Now, if you see this diagram, so here multiple sprints available. In our project, there are 100 requirements available. Instead of developing and delivering all the 100 requirements in one shot, we are going to divide the project into multiple sprints. So first you take 30 requirements, you plan them. So out of 100, you take only first 30 requirements, you design them, you develop them, you test them, you deploy them. Once the first sprint is completed, then go for the second sprint. Again, take the next 30 requirements, you plan, you design, you develop, you test and deliver them. Once the second sprint is completed, then take the next 30 requirements, you plan them, you design them, you develop them, and you deliver them. So the project will not be delivered in the single shot. The project will be delivered in the multiple sprints. So in every sprint, planning will be there, designing will be there, development will be there, testing will be there, delivery will be there. So planning, designing, developing, testing, delivering, it is a continuous process when you go for Agile methodology. In the Agile methodology, project will be delivered in the form of multiple sprints. In the Agile methodology, we will deliver the project to the client in multiple releases. They are called as sprints. Okay, so in one project, multiple sprints can be available. Sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, like this. Sprint 1, sprint 2, and sprint 3. Like this, multiple sprints will be available in the project. So, okay, so here, Agile methodology is one of the most famous SDLC methodology available in the market. Planning, designing, developing, testing, delivering. It is a continuous process in the Agile methodology. The project will be delivered to the client in multiple releases. Those are called as sprints. As you see in the diagram, so in every sprint, planning, designing, developing, testing, deploying will be there. That is a continuous process. So earlier, people used to work with a methodology called waterfall methodology. So before this Agile, people used to work with a methodology called waterfall methodology. When you go for waterfall methodology, everything will be developed and tested and delivered in one shot. Okay, so it is a step-by-step process. After one step is completed, then we will go for the next step in the waterfall model. So there are so many drawbacks available with the waterfall model. That's why in the market currently, people are going with the Agile methodology. So when we are talking about Agile methodology, multiple sprint will be available. For every sprint, planning, designing, development, testing, delivery will be there. So that's why it is a continuous process. Okay. So when we are talking about Agile methodology, we need to know about Agile terminology. So what is the Agile terminology? So first one, in the Agile methodology, we need to understand backlog grooming. Okay, there will be a term called backlog grooming in the Agile methodology. And the second one, story will be available. And the third one, story points will be available. Story will be available. Story points will be available. Then backlog will be available. Okay, sprint planning will be available. Sprint planning will be available. Then next one, sprint will be available. Then next one, retrospective will be available. When we are working in the Agile methodology in the project, so every day you are going to hear this backlog grooming, story points, backlog, sprint planning, sprint, and retrospective. This terminology you are going to see in the project every day. So here, what is the meaning of backlog grooming? Backlog grooming meeting will be there. In this meeting, all the team members will join and we will discuss about pending items available in the project. So we are a team, we are working in the project. So in our project, what tasks got completed, what tasks are pending, what we have to do in our project, that we are going to discuss in one meeting. That meeting is called as backlog grooming meeting. What we are going to do in the project, what items are pending, what items are completed, we are going to discuss in one meeting, which is called backlog grooming meeting. Backlog grooming is a meeting where all the team members will discuss about pending items available in the project. Okay, so once we discuss about the pending item, for every pending item, for every pending item, we will create one story in the Jira. Okay, so Jira tool will be used. So whatever we discussed in the meeting, what are the items which are pending in the project, for every pending item we will create one story in the Jira. Story means a task. Story means a task. Story means a task that we need to work on. Okay, so in my project, for example, Jenkins pipeline creation is pending. So for the Jenkins pipeline creation, one story will be created. Story means a task that we need to complete, right? So backlog grooming meeting will be there in the project. All the team members will join in that backlog grooming meeting and will discuss about what all the pending items available in the project. For every pending item, we will create one story in the Jira. For every pending item, we will create one story in the Jira. The story means a task that we need to complete. A task that we need to complete, which is called as a story in the project, in the Jira. Right. So for every story, story points will be available. Okay. For every story, story points will be available. For every story, we need to assign story points. What is the meaning of story points? Story points will represent duration to complete the story. Okay, so how many days it will take to complete the story? Based on that analysis, we will assign some story points. So for every story, we need to assign story points. Story points will represent duration to complete the story. Are you clear? Now, how we are going to complete? If we give 3 points, that means that story should be completed in 1 day. Okay, so if we give 6 points for the story, or in my project, 3 points means 1 day story, and if we give 5 points, nothing but it is 2 days story, and if it is 8 points story, that means it will take 3 days of time to complete. So project to project, the story numbers definition might change. So in my project, 3 points story means it will take 1 day to complete. 5 points story means it will take 2 days to complete. 8 points story means it will take 3 days of time to complete. 3 days of time to complete. So like this, we are going to use the story points. So whatever the pending item is available, for every pending item, we'll create one story in the Jira. Story means a task that we need to complete. For every story, we need to assign story points. Story points will represent the duration to complete the story. So if you want to take 1 day time to complete the story, okay, so that is going to be represented as 3 points. 3 points means 1 day, 5 points means 2 days, 8 points means 3 days. In some project, they may do like this. 1 point means 1 day, 2 points means 2 days, 3 points means 3 days. The definition might change from project to project, guys. The definition might change from project to project. In our project, this is the definition we are following. Okay, guys, good. So backlog grooming is a meeting where all the team members will discuss about pending items available in the project. For every pending item, we will create one story in the Jira. Story means a task that we need to complete. So for every story, we need to assign story points. Whoever is creating the story, that person should assign story points also. What is the meaning of story points? Story points will represent, that means how many story points will represent how many days it is going to take to complete that story. So if you are creating the story, you need to estimate how many days it will take to complete the story. Based on that, you need to configure. And the next one, once the stories are created, those stories are called backlog. The pending stories are called as backlog stories in the project. Pending stories are called as backlog stories. Pending stories are called as backlog stories in the project. So now here in a project, we need to prioritize the stories. So there are so many stories which are pending. So out of these pending stories, which stories we need to complete first? Which stories we need to complete as first sprint? For that, there will be one meeting in the project which is called sprint planning. So there will be a meeting in the project which is called sprint planning. So what is the meaning of sprint planning? What is the meaning of sprint planning? Sprint planning is a meeting in which a team will discuss priority stories to complete. Sprint planning is a meeting in which a team will discuss priority stories to complete. Okay, we have these 50 stories pending. Out of these 50, which 20 stories are very important, those stories we need to complete first. So to prioritize the pending stories, we will have a meeting in the project. That meeting is called as sprint planning. So what is sprint planning? Sprint planning is a meeting in which team members will discuss priority stories to complete first. Okay, so once the priority stories are completed, we are going to create a sprint with the priority stories. What is the meaning of sprint? Sprint represents set of stories to complete in the given duration. In the given duration. So in the industry standard, sprint duration will be 2 weeks of time. Sprint duration will be 2 weeks. This is industry standard. If you want in the project, they can change also. Some projects may have 3 weeks as a duration of the sprint, 1 month as a sprint duration. But the official standard as per Agile, every sprint duration will be of 2 weeks of time. Every sprint duration will be of 2 weeks of time. So in the project, first we will join for a meeting called backlog grooming meeting. We will identify all the pending stories. We'll create the pending stories in the Jira, right? For every story, we will assign a story points. Story points will decide what is the duration in order to complete that story. Pending stories are called as backlog stories, right? So when there are stories in the backlog, we need to prioritize those stories. We need to prioritize the stories. Story means task, the work that we have to do, right? So sprint planning is a meeting in which a team will discuss priority stories to complete. So sprint represents set of stories to complete in the given duration. Sprint duration will be 2 weeks of time, guys. So for these 2 weeks, which stories we are going to complete, we will plan them as one sprint. So as part of our sprint, daily Scrum call will be available. In sprint duration, in sprint duration, every day, in sprint duration, every day, Scrum meeting will be there. Okay, in sprint duration every day, Scrum meeting will be there to give work updates to Scrum Master. So for every team, one Scrum Master will be available. Scrum Master is responsible to manage the team. So every day the meeting will be there. In the Scrum meeting, we need to give work updates to the Scrum Master. What updates we need to give? Working on which task? I'm working on which task? When my task will be completed? When my task will be completed? Any challenges to complete the task? Any challenges to complete the task? That means the story. So your task nothing but you will work on one story. So you are working on which story, when that story will be completed, and are you facing any challenges to complete that story? You need to give all these work updates to Scrum Master. So for every team, one Scrum Master will be available. That Scrum Master will manage the team. Scrum Master will manage the team. So every day, 15 to 20 minutes, Scrum meeting will be available. We need to join in the Scrum meeting and we need to tell to the Scrum Master, we are working on which story, when that story will be completed, and do you have any challenges in order to complete the story. For example, if I am giving my work updates in the Scrum call, I will tell like this. Hi Steve, I'm working on the story number 348. My story will be completed by tomorrow. I don't have any challenges to complete my story. So like this, I need to give my work updates to the Scrum Master. So that Scrum meeting will be there for 15 to 20 minutes of time. In that Scrum meeting, every team member will give their work updates to the Scrum Master. Okay. So sprint means the set of stories that we are going to complete in the given amount of time. Sprint nothing but set of stories we have prioritized, the set of stories that we are going to complete in the 2 weeks of time, that is called sprint. When the sprint is happening, every day meeting will be there with the Scrum Master. In the Scrum meeting, we need to give our work updates to the Scrum Master. In that, we need to tell we are working on which story, what is the status of that story, when the story will be completed. All this information you need to tell to your Scrum Master. All right. So here in the project, there will be a meeting called retrospective meeting. So what is retrospective meeting in the project? Retrospective is a meeting in which team members will discuss about sprints review. So we completed 2 sprints in a month. So monthly once this retrospective meeting will happen. In that retrospective meeting, we are going to discuss what went well in the sprint, what went wrong in the sprint, and any lessons that we have learnt in the sprint, any improvements are required, and any new ideas we have for our project. So those things we are going to discuss in the retrospective meeting. Retrospective is a meeting in which team members will, it is like a final review meeting, guys. Retrospective is like a review meeting. In that meeting, we are going to discuss what went well, what went wrong, any mistakes we have done, any lessons we have learned, any improvements are required. Do you have any new idea? So that will be helpful for our project. Those things we are going to discuss as part of our retrospective meeting. Okay, so this retrospective will happen monthly once. Retrospective meeting will happen monthly once here. Are you guys able to follow me? Agile terminology. Are you able to understand the Agile terminology? So in the Agile, first of all, what is Agile? Agile methodology is one of the most famous SDLC methodology in the project that which are following in the software industry. Earlier, people used to develop the projects by using waterfall methodology. Nowadays, people are developing the projects by using Agile methodology. In this Agile methodology, planning, designing, development, testing, delivery will happen. This planning, designing, development, and testing and delivering is a continuous process. Okay. So in the Agile methodology, we will deliver the project to the client in multiple releases. Those releases are called as sprints. Sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. Like this, the project will be divided into multiple sprints. When we are working in the Agile methodology, we need to know about some terminology. Can you guys read the terminology now? Can you guys read the terminology now? Backlog grooming will be there. Story will be there. Story points will be there. Sprint planning, sprint, and retrospective will be there. What is the meaning of backlog grooming? Backlog grooming is a meeting where all the team members will discuss about pending works in the project. Backlog grooming is a meeting in which all the team members will discuss pending works in the project. For every pending item, we will create one story in the Jira. That story means a task that we need to complete. For every pending item, we'll create one story in the Jira. Story means a task that we need to complete. For every story, we need to assign story points. So story points means whenever you are saying that there is something pending in the project, you should know how much time it will take to complete. So you need to estimate the efforts, how much time it is going to take to complete. Based on that, you need to assign story points for your story. So as per my project standard, if a story is going to take 1 day time, then we will assign 3 points for that. If a story is going to take 2 days of time to complete, we will assign 5 points for that. If a story is going to take 3 days of time, we are going to assign 8 points for that. So pending stories are called as backlog stories. Whatever the stories are pending, the pending stories we are going to call as backlog stories in the project. So what is sprint planning? Sprint planning is a meeting in which team will discuss priority stories to complete. Sprint planning is a meeting in which we will discuss about priority stories to complete. There are 100 stories in the pending. All the 100 we are not going to complete at a time. From these 100, which are important, those things we will prioritize. That is called sprint planning. So once the sprint planning is completed, we will fix a set of stories to complete in the given 2 weeks of time. So which is called sprint. So for every project, sprint duration will be decided. As per industry standard, sprint duration will be of 2 weeks of time. Okay, in some projects they can customize also, they can make it as 3 weeks also. In the sprint duration, every day Scrum meeting will be there to give work updates to the Scrum Master. As part of our sprint duration, every day Scrum meeting will be there to give work updates to the Scrum Master. So as part of this Scrum call, we are going to give the status update. That means we are working on which story. For every story, one number will be available. You are working on which story and when that story will be completed, and do you have any challenges to complete your story? That means, do you need any help? Did you stuck somewhere in your story completion? If you need any help from your team, then you can tell that in the Scrum call. And monthly once, every month, after 2 sprints completed in our project, after 2 sprints completed, retrospective meeting will be there. What is the meaning of retrospective? So what is the meaning of retrospective? Retrospective is a meeting in which team members will discuss about sprints review. So we completed 2 sprints in this month. So how those 2 sprints completed, any challenges we faced, anything went well, anything went wrong, did we learn any new lessons from our mistakes, any improvements we need to do you have any new ideas to make your sprints more easy, to improve the quality in the project? All those things we are going to discuss as part of our retrospective meeting. So this is called agile methodology. And as part of this agile methodology, to do the project management, we are going to use a tool called Jira. So what is Jira? Jira software developed by one company called Atlassian company. We have seen Bitbucket, right? Bitbucket software is also developed by Atlassian company. Okay, so the Jira software also given by Atlassian company. So this Jira is called as project management software. Jira software developed by Atlassian company, and this Jira is called as project management software. So what we can do by using this Jira? Jira is used to manage our project work, guys. So story creation, story allocation, story assignment, assigning the story to particular team member, and reports generation. How many stories completed? How many stories are pending? How many stories in the backlog? Okay, all those things reports can be generated by using a tool called Jira. Jira software developed by Atlassian company. This Jira is called as project management software. Jira is used as project management software. By using this Jira, we are going to create the stories, we are going to allocate the stories, we are going to do the reports generation. And Jira software is also used for bug reporting in the project. For example, we have created one Jenkins pipeline. That Jenkins pipeline is not working as expected. There is a bug in our pipeline. There is a problem in our pipeline. So to do the bug reports also in the project, we are going to use Jira. So Jira is used for project management, as well as Jira is also used for bug reporting in the project. And this Jira software is a licensed software, guys. For practice purpose, we can use the trial version, but in the companies, they will use licensed version of the Jira software. Jira is a licensed software. We need to purchase the license to use this. But for our training purpose, for practice purpose, we can use trial version. But in the industry, the licensed version of Jira software will be used, which is used for project management, and it is also used for bug reporting in the project. So what is Jira? Jira is a software that is developed by Atlassian company. Okay, this Jira is called as project management software. Jira is used to manage our project work. What we are going to do in the Jira? We are going to do the story creation. We are going to do the story allocation, and we are going to generate the reports also. Jira is also used for bug reporting, and Jira is a licensed software. We can use trial version for our practice. Guys, are you clear with this agile methodology, and are you clear with Jira?
Yes, sir.
Are you clear with this? What is agile methodology and what is Jira? Theoretically, are you able to understand what is Jira? Why we need to go for Jira?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What is the purpose of Jira?
Project management, sir.
Yeah, Jira is used for project
Project management
management.
software.
Jira is used for project management. Who has to work on which story? Who has to work on which story? How many stories are pending? All those things we are going to discuss as part of our Jira tool. Okay.
Sir,
So you
sir,
understand what is Agile methodology, guys? What is Agile methodology in the project and why we are following this Agile methodology? What is Agile methodology and why we are following Agile methodology? You have any clarity on that? What is Agile methodology? Why we need to
Yes, sir.
follow Agile methodology?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yeah. What is Agile methodology? What is Agile methodology, guys?
Agile methodology is the work culture in which we continuously deliver the projects to the clients in shorten in sprint by sprint. So it's a kind of work culture to continuous delivery of the project.
Right. Agile is one of the methodology which is used to develop and deliver project to the client. One of the famous methodology which is used to develop and deliver our projects to the client. Got it. So in the Agile methodology, project will be delivered to the client in multiple releases. In Agile methodology, project will be delivered to the client in multiple releases. So in this Agile, the terminology will be available like this: backlog grooming, story points, sprint planning, sprint, and retrospective. So can anyone tell me what is the meaning of backlog grooming in the Agile methodology? Come on,
Backlog
guys.
stories and
What is the meaning of
their
a backlog grooming in the Agile methodology?
pending tasks.
What is the meaning?
We
No, no,
have
no.
Pending
we
tasks
have
is called as
certain
backlog.
What
works
is the
to
meaning of a
complete.
backlog grooming?
Uh, Backlog grooming is we have a certain tasks to complete on this sprint, so we need based on our time frame, we need to figure out like which task has to be completed. So on based on that, we will take some certain tasks for a sprint. So for that, we are gonna go with the backlog grooming meeting.
Yeah, backlog grooming is basically a meeting where we will discuss about pending works in the project. Backlog grooming is basically a meeting. In that meeting, we are going to discuss what are the pending items available in our project. Then, once the pending items available, for every pending item, we are going to create a story. So, can you tell me what is the meaning of story? Can you tell me what is the meaning of story? Guys, what is the meaning of story?
Story is a
Means
task
backlog task.
which the developer has to be completed within 1 or 2 days or 3 days,
Yeah.
not more than 3 days. So based on that story duration, we're going to give the story points for each story.
Yes, story means a task. Basically, story means a task. Story points. What is the meaning of story points? What is the meaning of story points?
Description about the what work need to be done.
Yes, story points nothing but number of days that we are going to take to complete the story. So for every story, we will assign some story points. So that will represent number of days that we are going to take to complete that story. The next one, sprint planning. What is the meaning of sprint planning?
Which task should be completed? All those tasks will be planned according to the
Yeah,
sprint.
so there are so many pending stories available in the project. So all the stories we cannot complete at a time. We need to do some planning, which stories we are going to complete first. So that's where sprint planning will be there. It is also a meeting where the teams will discuss about which stories we need to complete first. So the important stories will be prioritized, which is called as sprint planning session. Once the sprint planning is completed, then sprint will be available. So in the sprint, we will fix set of stories that we are going to complete. Set of stories that we are going to complete, we are going to prioritize them. So what is the sprint? Set of stories that we are going to complete as part of our sprint, right? Then what is the meaning of retrospective, guys?
What
What
are
is the
the
meaning of
challenges faced
retrospective?
during the previous release, and what are the steps to be to overcome in the current
So we
release? And
completed 2 sprints, right? In a month, we will complete 2 sprints. What went well? What went wrong? Okay. So any lessons we have learned, any improvements are there for us. Those things we are going to discuss in the retrospective meeting. Retrospective is basically a review meeting to review our work that we have completed, right? So simple example, when you watch a movie, you will discuss about the good points in the movie, bad points in the movie, boring points in the movie, highlight points in the movie review will be there. Similarly, once our sprints are completed, we will discuss about what went well, what went wrong in the sprint. That is called retrospective meeting in the project. Is this clear for all of you? Is this clear for all of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, perfect. Any questions
sir.
so far on the Agile methodology? No. So Jira, can anyone tell me what is Jira? Why we need to use this Jira in the project? What is Jira? Why we need to use Jira in the project? Come on,
Project
guys.
Jira is
management
a
tool which
project
is
tracking tool, sir.
Yes.
It also used to give stories to the developer, which is work in the team. So to allocate the stories or to give these story points allocations on every stories, and yeah, and so to track the projects, the how many stories has completed, who is working on which stories, and who is picking up how many story points, stories for the sprints and things like that.
Perfect. Okay. So here Jira is a tool that is developed by a company called Atlassian company. Bitbucket also developed by the same company. Okay. Jira is also developed by that company. All right. Now here, so this Jira, whatever the Jira that we are using, that Jira is called as project management software. Whatever the Jira software that we have, that Jira software we are going to call as project management software. Okay, so by using this Jira, we can create the stories and we can assign the stories to the team members. We can generate the reports also. Along with the project management, Jira is also used for bug reporting. Jira is also used for bug reporting. Jira is called as licensed software. Jira is a licensed software. We can use trial version for our practice. We can use trial version for our practice. Now, let us see how to use this Jira trial version, how to set up the Jira tool, how to set up Jira and how to use it. Jira login. Okay, so this is from Atlassian. Login with the Atlassian account, id.atlassian.com. So here it is asking, do you have account in the Atlassian website? If you have account in the Atlassian, you can log in. If you don't have account, then you can create the account also. This is the URL where you can do the sign up, or you can use Google with sign in also. You can use sign in with Google also. By using your Gmail also, you can log in into this Jira. Right. So let me try to log in into my account. I already created account here. Click on continue and I have my password. Click on login. So with this, I'm able to log in into my Atlassian account. Okay. Continue without two-step verification. Yes, I logged in into my Atlassian account. So Atlassian company having several products. In that, Bitbucket is available. Jira is also available. So go to Atlassian here. Go to Atlassian. Let me check the Jira software. Yes, Jira is available. Recommended for the team. Team.atlassian.com. Jira product discovery. Not this one. Go to Atlassian. Go to the projects. Atlassian home. account settings, Atlassian product, Atlassian document, show all. Bitbucket is available. Only it is showing me Bitbucket, not showing me Jira. Let me go here, Jira login directly. Software Jira, project management software, get Jira free. Sign up or log in with your account. I have my account. Already have Jira, just log in. Start.atlassian.com. That is the URL where I can access my Jira tool. Where is that? It is not showing me. Let me use Jira login directly. Is my free trial expired? Bitbucket is showing me, Jira is not showing me. Jira, get it free. Agree and start now. Free for up to 10 users. Welcome back, Ashok. Operations, project, software development. What kind of work do you do? So I'm trying to access Jira. They're asking me what kind of work you do. Software development. Click on continue. Project management. Click on continue. Yeah, Jira tool is getting configured. Preparing my workspace. So once you join in the company, they will give you direct company Jira access for you. So here I'm using free version of Jira for our practice. Trial version of Jira I'm using. I will show you the demo how we are going to use Jira in our project. Yes. Fine guys. So with this, my Jira tool got loaded. Okay. Yeah. So this is the look and feel of Jira software that we are using here now. So let me create one project in the Jira. It's not my Kanban project. I need to take functionalities, targeting Jira, Scrum based project I want to work. Jira home, projects available in the Jira, right? Create a project, click on create. So you create one project here. Currently there is nothing. I want to create one new project. Click on cancel. So it looks somewhat different than what I have seen previously.
Sir, under projects also you have an option to create new projects, sir.
App 1, no options. So the look is different. It is showing the Kanban project. I need Scrum based project. Atlassian homepage. Jira.
Here, right side, we have a Jira create project.
Jira work management. I think I have selected wrong product in the Jira. Yeah. Yes. So let me select the Scrum type. Yes. Team manager project. Select a team based project. Add the project details. As I'm creating a project, something like SBI application, guys. So if our project name is SBI application, click on next. Now, yes, I'm able to create one project in the Jira. So currently in this project, there are no stories available. So this is my Jira login, guys. I logged in into Jira. Currently in this, no stories available. So go to backlog. So this is the look and feel of Jira. Currently in the backlog, nothing is available. Okay, this is my Jira board. In the Jira board, it is going to show what all the stories available in the project, what all the to do nothing but what all the pending stories, in progress nothing but which stories are already in progress. People are working on those stories. Done means the stories which are already completed. So first, a team will set up a meeting as discussed. The meeting will happen. That meeting is called backlog grooming meeting. In that meeting, they will discuss what all the pending items available in the project. What are the pending items available in the project we are going to discuss in the meeting. And once that meeting got completed, we are going to create a story for every pending item. So let us see how to create a story in the Jira. Observe. Guys, every team member can create the story in the Jira. Once the backlog grooming meeting is completed, we will go to our Jira, we will log in, then we will go to the backlog. Currently, if you see in the backlog, empty. There are no stories available in the backlog. Then create one issue. So the backlog story is set up Sonar Cube server. This is one backlog for us. This is a pending task in the project. Set up Sonar Cube server. So story got created. Whenever you create a story, the story ID got generated. So based on the project name, this ID will be generated. I have given the project name as SBI application. That's why it has generated as SA1. Click on edit. Okay. So you click on the story. Once you click on the story, it is going to ask for story points here. Story point estimate. How many days it will take for you to complete this story? So this will take only 1 day for me. So I'm going to give the story points as a 3. So 3 points, nothing but it is going to take only 1 day of time to complete. And the next one, create GitHub repository. Create GitHub repository. So for the project, GitHub repository should be created. That is also pending. So story number 2 generated SCA2. Click on the story number and go here and give the story points. This story also will take only 1 day of time. Story point estimate 3 points I have given. That means it is going to take 1 day time. Then similarly create set up Nexus repository server. Set up Nexus repository server. These all tasks related to DevOps team. Set up Nexus repository server. So for this story ID 3 generated, click on this one, edit this, go to this one, story point estimate. So Nexus repository also can be completed in 1 day time. Right. Then similarly, set up EKS cluster. Set up EKS cluster. Right. So for EKS cluster creation, we are doing, let me create one story for that. Create an issue, set up EKS cluster. So that is story number 4. Suppose, for example, EKS cluster setup will take 2 days of time. Then story points, I'm giving 5 points. Okay, 1 day to create the cluster, 1 day to test our cluster resources are working as expected or not. So I'm giving 2 days of time to set up EKS cluster. Then set up Jenkins master slave architecture. Set up Jenkins master and slave. This is one story in the project. So like this, all the team members will create the stories in the backlog. Backlog stories, nothing but the pending stories. So go to this story. So who is creating that story? That person will assign story points. Master slave configuration, Jenkins, I'm giving 2 days of time. So set up the Jenkins master node and set up the Jenkins slave nodes and establish master slave architecture. Okay, so for this, as it is going to take 2 days of time, I'm giving 5 points for that. 3 points means 1 day, 5 points means 2 days of time. Then create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. Create Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. So that story points we need to give for that, right? So let me give the story points for this. Story number 6 is available. Okay, I'm going to give some story points like 5 points I'm giving to create the CI/CD pipeline to automate the project build and deployment. So like this, all the team members will go to Jira board, then go to backlog. They will create the stories in the backlog. So once all the backlog stories got completed, okay, then sprint planning will be available. Currently, I have created 6 stories in the backlog. Currently, I have created 6 stories in the backlog. 6 stories I have created in the backlog. Then what will happen in the project? Sprint planning will happen. Now, guys, you understand? Backlog grooming means a meeting where all the team members will discuss about pending items available in the project. And for every pending item, one story will be created. Now you have seen how I am creating the story. So go to backlog, create issue. So what is the story which you want to do? Then dev deployment. Okay, I want to perform dev deployment of my application. I want to deploy the project into dev environment. That is one story. So for that story, I'm giving 3 points. Dev deployment is just 1 day time for us. So I'm giving 3 points for that. So like this in the project, for every pending item, one story will be created. I have created 7 stories, and for every story, I have given some story points also. So story represents a task that we need to complete, and how much duration it will take to complete that task. Based on that, we are going to give story points. Story points will represent the duration in order to complete that story. All right. Are you guys clear with this one? Backlog grooming, story points, story creation, and assigning the story points. Story creation, assigning the story points. Are you clear with this point?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then next one, sprint planning. Next one is the sprint planning. What is the meaning of sprint planning? What is the meaning of sprint planning here? So there are so many stories available in the pending. Okay. So these pending stories we need to prioritize and we need to complete them. We need to prioritize the pending stories and we need to complete those stories. Okay. So for that, we are going to prioritize the stories and we will add them to the sprint. So currently there are no sprints available in the project. Currently there are no sprints available in the project. So let us create the sprint. By default, sprint 1 is available. Plan your sprint. Plan your sprint. Can you read this point, what they are saying? Currently, in that sprint, there are no stories available. This is a first project. So first sprint we are going to create. So in the first sprint, what we will do? So whatever the sprint 1 is available, currently there are no stories available. So in this backlog, which story is priority story? That story you drag and drop here. That means that story we are moving from backlog to sprint. That means which is a priority story. You just select this story and drag and drop that story here. Now you see story 1 and story 7 came here. Story 7, drag and drop here. So which stories you want to prioritize? Just select that story, drag and drop that story in the sprint, which is called sprint planning. So a sprint planning meeting will happen in the project. In that we will discuss what all the backlog stories available. In those backlog stories, which are the most important stories for us? Okay, which are priority stories? You drag that story and drop that story here. Now see, story 1 moved from the backlog to sprint 1. That means we are going to work on that story in this sprint. Similarly, this story, just click on this, drag and drop here. Second story also moved to sprint 1. Third story also moved to sprint 1, like this. Which stories are priority stories? Which stories we are going to complete now? Those stories we will add to the sprint like this. From the backlog grooming, we are taking them and we are adding them to the sprint. Okay, so based on the team availability, the sprint planning will happen. So how many team members available? Anybody having the leave plans for this sprint? All those things will be considered and they will do the sprint planning. Who will organize this sprint planning? For every project, Scrum Master will be available. Scrum Master will check how many members are there in the team. Is there anybody on the leave for this sprint? Based on all those things, the sprint planning will happen. They will prioritize the stories. So like this, whatever the story is available in the backlog, those stories will be added to the sprint. So sprint 1 is ready. Then click on start sprint. So in this sprint, total 24 points available. Like this, they will add minimum 150 story points for one sprint, guys. Like this, 150 points will be added to the sprint. 150, 180 points we are going to complete as part of one sprint. So currently I added 6 stories to the sprint. Then click on start sprint. Okay, sprint 1, the duration 2 weeks. So that is the industry standard. If you want to take 3 weeks to complete your sprint, that will be decided by our Scrum Master. So if they want 3 weeks also, they can select it. Officially, industry standard 2 weeks. Sprint 1, 2 weeks of time. If today it is getting started, we need to complete. So they will consider only weekly 5 days. 5 days sprint, weekly 5 days, Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday will be ignored. 10 working days we are going to take in order to complete this sprint. Click on start. So with this, our sprint is started. First, we added stories in the backlog, then sprint planning. As part of the sprint planning, we are going to prioritize the stories and we will add the stories to the sprint, and the sprint is started. Who will start the sprint? Scrum Master will be available. That Scrum Master started our sprint. Scrum Master is available. That Scrum Master started our sprint, guys. Scrum Master started our sprint. Then there are 6 stories in the sprint. All the stories available in the to-do. To-do nothing but the pending stories. To-do nothing but pending stories. Now here in some projects, team lead or Scrum Master will assign the stories to the team members. So for our project, a lead will be available, Scrum Master will be available. They will assign story for the other team members available in the project. But in some projects, guys, nowadays, especially in the product-based companies, they will not assign the story to anybody. It is your responsibility to assign the story to your name. So you go to the Jira dashboard, you check what is the sprint currently running. In that sprint, you check how many stories are in the to-do. to do nothing but pending. Nobody is working on them. Okay, so you see the story, set up Sonar server. Yes, I know how to work on this story. Then take this story and assign that story to your name. Take that story. Currently, it is not assigned to anybody. Then click on assign to me. That means you are assigning the story to yourself. Again, it depends on the project, guys. In some project, so a lead will be available, or Scrum Master will assign the story to the team member. But in some projects, they will not assign the stories to you. You need to assign the story to yourself. Okay, so that means you are independently contributing to the project. So self responsibility should be there in the project. So in my project, nobody will assign the stories to other team members. Everybody is responsible. They should go to the Jira sprint, whatever the stories are pending. So take the story which you can complete. So click on that story. Then story created by someone, but I am taking, this is created by Ashok IT. So somebody created the story. I can work on this. Now first to see this story is assigned to anybody or not. If story is assigned to someone, you should not take it. If story is not assigned to anybody, then you click on assign to me. So then this story is assigned to me. Once the story is assigned to me, still it is in the to do. I'm going to work on that. Then I will change the status to in progress. The story status, I change it to in progress. That means I am working on this story. Initially that story in the to do, then I have assigned that story to my name. I changed the story status from to do to in progress. That means I am working on that story. So Sonar server setup. Okay, what is the story number? SCA1. SCA is our project key. 1 is the story number. Then Scrum call will be available. In the Scrum call, what I will tell to my Scrum Master? In the Scrum call, I will tell to my Scrum Master, I am working on which story. Okay, so working on which story? My story number is available here. SCA1 is my story number. Hi Steve, today I am working on SCA1, which is related to Sonar server setup in the Linux machine. My story will be completed by today. I am not facing I don't have any issues to complete my story. I am good to go. So like this, I will give my work updates to the Scrum Master in the Scrum call. Then I will complete this story. Once my story got completed, I will go to this story and I will change the status to done. Done means I have completed. Done means I have completed this story and I will add a comment. So what is the comment I will add? Sonar server setup completed successfully. Sonar server setup completed successfully. I will give you a comment and I have changed the story status to done. Done means that task got completed. Then next, once my task is completed, then what I will do? I will check what all the other stories are in the to-do. EKS cluster setup, I know this. Okay, go to this story. If you don't know that, you don't take it. So if you don't know how to do it, you don't take it. If you know how to do, then take that story. So currently it is not assigned to anybody. The story is unassigned. Nobody is working on that. Status is to do, not assigned to anybody. Then assign it to me. I'm assigning the story to my name. I'm working on that. Then go to in progress, change the status. So from to do, the story status, change it to in progress. Then in the today's Scrum call, I will tell. So my Scrum Master will ask me, Ashok, what are you doing today? I will tell him, hi Steve, yesterday I worked on SCA1 story and I have completed Sonar server setup. Today, I'm working on story number 4, which is related to EKS cluster setup in the AWS cloud. This story I will complete by tomorrow. I don't have any challenges to complete my story. Like this, I will give my work updates to my Scrum Master. So every day, Scrum call will be available. In that Scrum call, we will give the task update. That means you are working on which story. That story is regarding what purpose, what is that story is about, and when it will be completed, and do you have any challenges to complete. Those points we are going to discuss in the Scrum call. Then I have taken this Kubernetes cluster setup. I will work on that. Once it is completed, I will add a comment. EKS cluster setup completed. EKS cluster setup completed. Comment is added. Then change the status to done. That means my story got completed. Then I will go and take the next story. I will make it in progress. I will assign to my name. I will work on that, I will complete it, and I will tell that in the Scrum call. This is everyday process we are going to follow. This is, in some projects, nobody will assign the story for you. You can assign the story to yourself. But in some projects, what story you need to complete, your Scrum Master will decide. Whatever the story they assign, you need to work on that. But nowadays, in most of the company, they are not assigning the stories to the team members. Team member only should take the story. Self-assignment we need to follow. So currently in the market, people are following self-assignment. So everybody is responsible. You go to that sprint, you check what stories are pending, you assign the story to your name, then you complete on that story, then go and take the next story. So like this, we are going to work with Jira tool in the project. So here I'm using trial version of Jira. Limited features are available, but most of the work I have shown you. How to create a story, how to assign the story points, how to assign the story to ourselves, how to change the story status. So mostly this work will be there. So every day morning when we start the work, then we will go to Jira. We will log in into our Jira account. Company will provide you Jira account for you. Company licensed Jira account they will provide. Once you log in into Jira, then you can see what stories are assigned for you. Then you take that story and you work on that. You complete it. You update to your Scrum Master. You are working on which story and when it will be completed. Are you clear with my point?
Yes, sir. As well as in review is also there in the standards, right, sir?
Sorry?
After in progress, after in progress, we have a review column
Yeah,
is
so
also
in the
there.
you can customize that status also, sir. After in progress, you can customize the status also. So currently we are having
Reviewer will
only to do in progress and done. When you go for the licensed version of Jira, more settings will be available. You can add more kind of statuses, review, closed, okay, then reopen, like that we can do.
But sir, how to know like which employer on which story working? Like, is there any specific identity of that
Sir,
story?
reports generation. So in the free trial version, those reports are not available, sir. When you go for the licensed version of Jira,
Acha.
reports option will be there. We can see what all the stories available, who is working on which story, advanced reports we can generate. Here in the trial version, I cannot show you that.
Okay. Okay.
So that Jira complete access will be there for Scrum Master. He will generate all those reports.
But in some cases, like a Scrum Master will be like a team leader, or it might
No,
be
sir.
like a
Scrum
project.
Master role is different. Team leader is different. Scrum Master is different. Scrum Master is just going to manage the work. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Scrum Master is different. Team leader is different.
Okay.
So what about timeline, sir? We have to log these many hours we have worked on the task.
It's not like that, sir. Sometimes, for example, I have taken a story. I have taken a story. Okay. So in that story, actually, I should complete by 1 day. But actually, due to some issue, I'm not able to complete the story in the 1 day. Then I can tell to my Scrum Master. Okay, so hi Steve, I'm working on the story number 2. This story is supposed to be completed by today, but I'm facing some issue. So that's why I'm unable to complete it today. I will try to complete it tomorrow. Like that you can tell.
Okay, sir.
Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any questions, anyone?
We good, sir.
So you understand what is Jira and how to work with the Jira tool, guys. It is just a project management software to create the stories, to assign the stories. That's it. Every team member will have the login access for Jira. They will provide you that login access once you join in the company.
Sir,
Yeah.
in the company, there is a different sprint duration is there,
Yes.
3 weeks, 2 weeks. So I have seen, like, suppose there is 2 weeks sprint is there. So in that, people are assigning story point as a 1, 3, 5, and maximum 8. So can we calculate this one? What is the average time for sprint story point 1 by using this 10 days we are having?
Yes, sir. We can calculate it, right?
So is there a 1.5 day for one sprint?
No, it's not like that, sir. Minimum 1 day. We will suppose even if it is taking 3 hours to complete, we need to give 1 day time. Once you complete that story within the same day, then you can take another story and you can work on that.
Okay, means
Even
there
if
is
it
no
is,
need
suppose
of
for
calculation.
example, Git repository creation, it will not take 1 day. 1 day means 8 hours. Repository creation, just it is half an hour task only, but we'll give 3 points. Minimum 3.
Hmm. Hmm.
You got my point?
Okay.
All right.
Just
Fine,
actually I was
guys.
asking we have to calculate the average value or just
Average, correct.
average, right?
Yeah.
But in real time, they didn't calculate the meetings, right? Everybody is involved so many meetings.
Correct. They don't calculate the meeting. Everybody will every day lot of minimum 3 to 4 meetings will be there in a day. So
Yeah.
some days backlog grooming, some days sprint planning, scrum calls, functional calls, project manager meetings, team lead meetings. Lot of meetings will be there on daily basis. Okay.
In the sprint plan only, will provide the timelines for
Yes, sir. In
each
the sprint
backlog.
planning, at the time of creating the story, you will assign the points. Again, in the sprint planning, whichever the story they are adding to the sprint, they will review and they will check the timeline we have added. If it requires more time, you can change the story point in the sprint planning also. Once the sprint is started, you can't change the story point. Before sprint starts, you can change the story point for your story. Once the sprint is started, you can't change that.
Yes, if need, we need to add in the backlog portion.
Correct.
Yes, right, sir?
Yes.
In case of dependencies, like if you have a dependencies on different
Then
team,
we will hold on
or
that.
yeah,
We will tell in the scrum call there is a dependency. So I park that story. I am working on the another story.
right.
Suppose your story is
there is some,
dependent on some other story, then
yeah,
you have to wait for that. Then you keep that on hold and you take the another story and you work on that.
that will go on the backlog again.
Yeah. No need to go for the backlog. You park that, you take the new story and you complete that. So once your dependency is resolved, then you can continue your work. You got my point?
If it is any backlog task will be in pending after the sprint meeting is completed, which means the 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
How to drag into another
Sir,
sprint?
once the sprint is started, you can't change that, sir. If any backlog is there, then it will go to the next sprint. Once the sprint is started, you can't remove the story, you can't add the story to the sprint. It is not allow that.
Yeah,
We'll do carry over,
that
right?
means the pending task will be carry forward
We'll
to
carry
the
forward to the next sprint. So in this sprint, we planned for 20 stories, but 18 only completed. Unexpectedly, one person has taken the leave. So then whatever the 2 stories are pending, they will be carried forwarded to the next sprint.
Okay.
So please upload the notes.
Yeah, sure, sir. Okay, good guys. Thank you. It is I'm stopping for
Thank you,
today. So
sir.
please
Good night.
practice the Jira before coming to tomorrow's session. Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank you, sir.
Recording stop.